Chosen one. In the unseen middle of your breath and thought, I am already present, speaking not through fear or force, but through calm assurance that has walked with you longer than you remember. You look outward for signs, approval, confirmation, and instant change, yet I have always worked inward, shaping your strength, your patience, and your clarity. You were never created to live anxious or driven by constant pressure. You were created to live aware, grounded, and guided by purpose. Every season you have passed through, including confusion, loss, delay, and uncertainty, has carried meaning even when you could not see it. Nothing in your journey has been wasted. Not a single tear, not a single night of doubt, not a single moment where you questioned your value. You measure yourself by results, speed, recognition, and comparison. But I measure you by honesty, courage, endurance, and love. I see the effort no one acknowledges, the discipline you maintain in silence, and the hope you guard even when disappointment surrounds you. Silence does not mean absence, and waiting does not mean denial. Often it means preparation. Answers do not always arrive as explanations. Sometimes they arrive as inner stability. Sometimes as wisdom. Sometimes as resilience that allows you to move forward without fear. You are learning to trust without constant proof, to stand without applause, and to grow without immediate reward. Surrender is not weakness. It is alignment. When you release the need to control everything, you create space for direction. When you stop resisting change, renewal begins. Your life is not collapsing. It is realigning. Some doors close to protect you. Some relationships fade because they have completed their purpose. Some delays exist to strengthen your discernment. You are not behind, you are becoming. Do not rush growth. Depth requires time, and peace cannot be forced. Treat yourself with the same compassion you offer others. Rest when needed. Pause without guilt, and remember that progress is not always loud. Sometimes it is quiet, steady, and unseen. You are allowed to begin again without shame, to choose differently, without regret, and to move forward without carrying yesterday's weight. Forgive yourself as freely as you wish others would forgive you. Release resentment because it binds you to what hurt you, and choose love because it frees you from it. Strength does not come from hardness. It comes from steadiness. Gentleness does not make you weak, it makes you sustainable. Stay rooted in what is true rather than distracted by what is loud. Remain faithful to what matters even when it is not rewarded. Immediately, your consistency will outlast temporary noise, and your integrity will open doors that force never could. Trust the process even when clarity is incomplete, because clarity grows as you move. Not before you move. You are supported even when unseen, guided even when uncertain, and valued beyond what you can currently imagine. Walk forward with courage. Choose peace over panic, truth over illusion, and love over fear. Because when you do, you align with the highest purpose of your existence, and your life itself becomes a living message of hope, strength, and quiet power. Begin with the burden you carry on your back, and recognize that every fault you blame yourself for is not just an error, but a teacher shaping the depth of your spirit when you feel weighed down by your own past actions. Remember that growth begins, not by hiding from your mistakes, but by facing them with courage and clarity. The world tells you that shame is permanent, that guilt is endless. But I tell you that awareness of your own shortcomings is the first step toward freedom. Every time you feel the weight pressing you down, it is also pressing you toward awakening. Every time your shoulders ache from responsibility, it is teaching resilience. Every time your heart hesitates, it is expanding your capacity to choose wisely. Do not mistake the heaviness on your back for weakness. It is simply the mark of being alive and conscious and willing to learn. The mistakes you carry are not chains. They are keys. Keys that unlock deeper understanding. Keys that open doors to compassion. Keys that illuminate paths you could not see before when you are tempted to look away from your faults. Remember that avoidance only multiplies the burden, but when you face them honestly with humility and self-kindness, they dissolve into lessons rather than punishments. The past is not a jail. It is a mirror, a reflection to show you where growth is required. The present is your opportunity to lift the weight intentionally, to transform it into wisdom, to convert hesitation into courage, to convert regret into proactive love. Each decision you make in awareness of your faults is a declaration that you will not be defined by error, but by your response. Each moment, you acknowledge your burdens without self-loathing. You take a step toward mastery of the self. Let your mind stop running from the back pain of responsibility and start listening to what it teaches you. Because in that quiet attention lies the power to rise higher than you imagined when others judge you for being flawed. Remember that judgment is always shallow and fleeting. Only your conscious engagement with your faults carries lasting significance. Every stumble is a lesson. Every misstep, a reminder to redirect your energy toward what matters. Every perceived failure is actually a signal that your soul is stretching beyond previous limits. Do not be afraid of being seen as imperfect. For imperfection is the fertile soil in which growth roots deeply. Love yourself through your flaws, honor yourself through your mistakes, and serve yourself through disciplined attention to the lessons within the burdens you carry. Transformation is never quick. It is patient. It is quiet. It is continuous and relentless. Like the slow shaping of mountains or the invisible growth of roots beneath the soil, what seems like stagnation is actually preparation. What seems like weight is actually potential energy, waiting to be released when you lift your gaze from your back and look forward with intention. You will notice that the path is clear, that the lessons are sufficient, and that your heart, strengthened by the weight you once resisted, is now capable of carrying love, courage, patience, and clarity forward into every moment of your life. Begin with the weight on your shoulders and realize that every hesitation, every doubt, every perceived failure you carry is not a curse, but a guide. Each moment you believe you are insufficient, you are actually being invited to discover your hidden strength. The world often celebrates success as the ultimate measure. Yet I say to you that the courage to endure the invisible battles, the patience to walk forward despite fear, the resilience to rise after every fall, these are the truest marks of greatness. You do not need permission to heal. You do not need validation to grow, and you do not need approval to love yourself even when your past seems heavy and your present uncertain. When your mind tells you that you are too small, too late, or too broken, remember that growth is not about arriving, it is about moving. It is not about perfection, it is about consistent awareness. It is not about being flawless, it is about being faithful to your own heart. The burdens you perceive are actually teachers disguised as obstacles. They demand your attention, your discernment, your willingness to look inward instead of blaming outward. They whisper lessons of humility and perseverance, of discernment and courage, of compassion and patience. Each challenge is a doorway, each conflict a mirror, each failure an opportunity. When you begin to see them this way, the heaviness on your back transforms into wings, wings that lift you beyond old limitations, wings that allow you to soar even when circumstances are turbulent, when people doubt your ability to sustain your vision. Remember that vision itself is a seed, and seeds grow quietly underground before breaking through the surface. Your potential is not defined by what others recognize. It is defined by how faithfully you nurture it in the hidden hours of dedication and self-reflection, in the moments when no one is watching, in the silent prayers and intentional actions that align your spirit with purpose. Let every thought that pulls you toward fear be replaced by curiosity. Let every voice that insists you cannot be replaced by the awareness that possibility resides in your hands. Let every memory that drags you backward be reframed as insight that teaches you how to navigate forward. You are capable of more than you know, because the divine within you is patient and persistent. It does not rush. It does not judge. It waits for you to awaken to your own strength. When you begin to honor your own growth without comparing yourself to others, you unlock a power that is steady, reliable, transformative. This power does not erupt suddenly like fire. It spreads gradually like light, filling a room until darkness has no place to linger. Your mistakes are not marks of shame, they are threads in the tapestry of wisdom. Your missteps are not signs of failure. They are the brushstrokes of experience painting a portrait of resilience. Your heartache is not an enemy. It is a teacher guiding you toward compassion. Your loneliness is not emptiness. It is space inviting your soul to expand your mind, to deepen your understanding of self and others. Your fear is not an enemy. It is a signal directing you toward courage and preparation. Your doubts are not barriers, they are prompts to engage more fully with your inner guidance. Your setbacks are not punishments. They are opportunities to practice patience, persistence, and perspective. Remember that life does not demand perfection. It demands presence. It does not reward only achievement, it rewards alignment and integrity. It does not favor speed. It favors consistency. It does not thrive on external praise. It thrives on internal awareness. When you step into this understanding, the weight you once carried becomes and in the midst of your ongoing journey, there comes a moment when you realize that the burdens you carry are not just external pressures, but reflections of your own inner resistance, the hesitation, the doubt, the fear that you attempt to push away. Yet those same obstacles are precisely the teachers you need to grow beyond limitations. The weight that feels intolerable is simultaneously the strength you have not yet acknowledged. Every difficulty you encounter is an invitation to expand your consciousness. Every misstep, every frustration, every encounter that challenges your patience or tests your integrity is a doorway to a deeper understanding of self and the world around you. When you allow yourself to perceive these challenges as opportunities rather than punishments, you shift from victimhood to mastery. You begin to see that life is not a series of random events, but a deliberate orchestration in which your soul is constantly being refined. You were not created to merely survive or exist superficially. You were created to flourish, to embody awareness, to navigate complexity with grace, to transform what feels heavy into what elevates you. The moments of silence you sometimes experience are not voids. They are the spaces in which insight grows, in which clarity is cultivated, in which preparation occurs often. The divine operates in subtlety and patience, rather than immediacy and noise. When you encounter situations that seem beyond your capacity, remember that your capacity is far greater than your perception of it. The apparent impossibility is a mirror reflecting what you have not yet recognized within yourself. Your fears and insecurities are not enemies. They are teachers, signaling where courage is required, where discernment is necessary, where commitment must deepen. When you act in alignment with these signals, you activate latent power that is both practical and spiritual. You begin to operate not only in reaction to circumstances, but in orchestration. With higher intelligence, your choices ripple across time, influencing not only your own trajectory, but the environments and people you touch. Every interaction becomes a living lesson. Every decision becomes a declaration of presence. Every moment becomes an opportunity to express the integrity of your being. The divine message is not an abstract concept. It is embedded in these processes. It is manifest in your willingness to engage consciously, to perceive deeply, to respond with intention, rather than impulse. When you embrace this approach, you begin to understand that setbacks are never permanent, that mistakes are never terminal, and that challenges are never meaningless. You start to perceive life as a series of invitations to expand: courage, compassion, understanding, patience, and creativity. The very obstacles that once seemed to block you are actually the scaffolding for the architecture of your soul. Your past experiences are neither stains nor regrets. They are the material from which wisdom is built. Each encounter of misunderstanding or conflict is a mirror reflecting unresolved aspects of self. Each disappointment is a teacher prompting reflection, adjustment, adaptation, and growth. Each triumph is not merely a reward, but an amplification of the power you have cultivated through persistence, presence, and conscious engagement. Your journey is a continuous interplay of learning and application of love, awareness and discernment of action and reflection of intention and consequence. In embracing this dynamic, you move beyond superficial achievement and step into profound effectiveness, profound influence, profound peace, and profound alignment. You begin to operate from a place of deep inner security that does not depend on external validation, that does not fluctuate with circumstance, that is not shaken by temporary failures or temporary victories. It is steady, consistent, anchored in the awareness of your own divine origin and inherent capability. You start to see that every thought you cultivate, every intention you set, every action you take is a building block for both personal and collective evolution. The awareness that your life matters not only to you, but to the invisible currents of influence surrounding you transforms how you perceive responsibility. The divine does not operate through coercion. It operates through alignment, cooperation, empowerment, and example. Your life becomes a vessel for this principle. When you embody patience, you teach patience. When you embody courage, you catalyze courage. When you embody compassion, you inspire compassion. When you embody integrity, you establish a template for others to follow the alignment of your thoughts. Words and deeds becomes an amplifier of energy that resonates far beyond what you can perceive when you understand that the weight you carry is simultaneously the lesson and the power source. You no longer resist difficulty. You engage it. You no longer see suffering as a threat. You see it as a teacher. You no longer see limitation as finality. You see it as potential. You begin to transform adversity into opportunity, challenge into strength, resistance into clarity, inertia into momentum, and doubt into discovery. You understand that life's complexity is not something to escape, but something to engage with deeply, intentionally, with awareness and with heart. And you start to cultivate a rhythm of response rather than reaction, a pattern of awareness rather than avoidance, a practice of integration rather than division. And in this way, your life becomes a testament to the power of conscious engagement, to the strength inherent in presence, to the wisdom inherent in acceptance, to the clarity inherent in patience, and to the liberation inherent in alignment. And as you continue to move forward, you begin to notice that every step you take, even when hesitant, even when uncertain, carries significance. The divine does not measure progress in speed, but in awareness, in consistency, in intention. You may feel small, you may feel overlooked, you may feel insufficient. Yet within you is a capacity that has been quietly growing, like water carving stone, like roots expanding beneath soil, like wind shaping the landscape of possibility you were not created for. Ease alone, you were created to engage fully, to confront discomfort, to transform limitation into insight, to harness every moment of tension and every shadowed thought into clarity, resilience, and creative energy. When you encounter resistance, it is not to stop you, it is to alert you to the presence of deeper potential. Every difficult conversation, every misaligned relationship, every sudden shift in circumstance is a lesson in perception, a practice in emotional mastery, a call to discernment. When you begin to treat life as a classroom rather than a battleground, you find that patience becomes second nature, courage becomes familiar, and wisdom begins to accumulate like a quiet treasury within your awareness. The mistakes you once feared are no longer threats but indicators. They reveal where your attention is needed, where self-compassion is needed, where strategic adjustment is needed. And when you address them consciously and intentionally, they cease to weigh you down and instead serve as markers of evolution. Every encounter carries a subtle message, every challenge carries a hidden gift, every disappointment carries an unseen opportunity. When you learn to perceive this, you start to see the intricate web connecting every aspect of your life. Every choice, every interaction, every thought, every emotion is woven into a larger pattern that is purposeful and dynamic. The apparent chaos of existence transforms into a coherent system in which even setbacks have specific functions. Setbacks teach flexibility, persistence, focus, humility, creativity, adaptability, discernment, emotional regulation, relational intelligence, and spiritual attunement. The divine operates not through coercion, not through immediate gratification, but through the subtle and persistent orchestration of cause and effect, of attention and responsive reflection and application. You begin to notice that those who seem to obstruct you often provide the greatest insight. Those who challenge you often catalyze the deepest growth. Those who leave or fail to support you often clear space for the cultivation of independence and self-trust. Every disappointment becomes a mirror, reflecting unresolved belief patterns, fears, and limiting assumptions. Every triumph becomes a signal confirming the alignment of your efforts, values, and intentions. Every period of waiting becomes a fertile ground for reflection, incubation planning, and the nurturing of patience. The quiet periods are not empty. They are dense with unseen influence and development. The divine encourages observation, not reaction, contemplation, not impulsivity, integrity, not expediency, awareness, not avoidance. Your ability to integrate all aspects of experience, including discomfort, fear, uncertainty, vulnerability, and confusion, becomes the measure of maturity. Your capacity to remain present with attention. Curiosity and love, regardless of external circumstance, becomes the defining power of your life. You begin to understand that mastery is not the absence of challenge, but the skillful engagement with challenge, the calmness of mind, the steadiness of heart, the clarity of vision, the alignment of action and intention. These are the true metrics of success. When you encounter resistance, you are not failing, you are being invited to operate at a higher frequency, to access the resources within yourself and around you, to navigate complexity with balance and purpose. The divine message is constantly whispering through subtle signs, events, synchronicities, and insights. When you cultivate receptivity and quiet attention, you begin to recognize these signals. You begin to respond with greater skill, understanding, and timing. You begin to see that what appears as obstacles are often scaffolding. Your life is a living laboratory in which every interaction serves as experiment, reflection, application.